Hello, warriors. Welcome to the You Movement. I am B. And this awakening is continuing on, very challenging. And I wanted to talk today about a few things in regards to how difficult healing is and how long it takes. It really came as quite a shock to me. And I think my degree of compassion has grown exponentially because of how much healing work has been required for me to get to where I'm at, which still isn't healed. I'm a lot better than where I was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but it has been the hardest work I've ever had to do. It has been a full-time job for me. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that through the perspective of both a Kundalini awakening, as well as the perspective of somebody who has escaped from narcissistic abuse, as well as the perspective of somebody who has a long history of trauma in their childhood through other abuses. I think these three elements in combination make an awakening process like just crazy. First, let's look at the difference in types of awakenings that there are. I recently, on another Kundalini group, observed that question, what's the difference between a spiritual awakening and a Kundalini awakening? So a spiritual awakening tends to be a little bit slower and a little bit more flow. I'm not saying that there's not ups and downs. Absolutely there are, and there's certainly challenges involved. But it's the kind of precursor as far as I'm concerned. So my spiritual awakening, although I've had many levelings of spiritual awakenings through my life. I think I could look back and say my first spiritual awakening was when I was 18, 19, and first, ran away from home. That would have been 17, actually. But in the next few years, I started seeking answers and quest to find my way out of suffering. And that's what landed me in a college program of Native community worker addictions counseling, because I wanted to know how to get out of suffering, and I thought if I help, it's the calling of the wounded healer archetype that says, I'm carrying wounds in me, so I want to help people. Oftentimes, most people who work in social services, in counseling, in therapy settings, do so because they have their own wounded healer inside of them. And they're called to help other people because they wanted to help themselves. And so the wounded healer archetype needs to go through its own healing journey to be able to step fully into its power as a healer. And I've mentioned in other videos before that once upon my graduation, I didn't go into counseling. I was called out, and it was a damn good thing that I was, in my opinion. I was called out by a woman in one of my co-op programs, which is at a women's healing center, and I was co-facilitating a talking circle, and this woman was like, who the fuck do you think you are? Like, she was not having it. She was not having some 21-year-old book smart, know nothing person in her space. And that was a boundary that she absolutely was entitled to react to. Of course, she didn't know my history and that I had had a lot of horrific things already occur in my life. But from her perspective, looking, I lacked experience simply by being too young. It wasn't meant as an insult other than you're too young to do this job. And the fact of the matter is, in the program that I was taking, I was the youngest student at the time. The majority of students were second career students who were ranged in age from, mid 30s up into 60s. And then there was me at age 20. Like, there was nobody else. It was me and a bunch of older people in this program because, they were called into it at a more mature level. And I was only 21. And so when she called me out, my soul heard that. Like, I heard that at a soul level. And I was like, oh man, I am not experienced enough to do this. I got to go get some life experience. So I went off to university and then went off to get a whole bunch of life experience that was very painful. And those life experiences were necessary for me to fulfill my soul's role as the archetype of the wounded healer later on in life. Now I'm in my 50s. Now I'm doing it. But the process of that spiritual awakening began there because that's when I first got the call of like, there's got to be more to life than this. There's got to be ways that people, can find to heal themselves. So I dove deeply into psychology. Once I was in Japan, I went deeply into Buddhism, and so I had already started my spiritual awakening. And it was kind of, like this ups and downs in my life, but it was going along pretty easily. I then went and had like another profound spiritual awakening when I lived in Ireland on my own and had a child and was trying to navigate living in a foreign country as a single mom. And that's what introduced me to the wonderful world of Reiki. And it was like I had a whole new opening of awareness at that time when I started to learn about the chakra system. And to me, the chakra system like answered 1,000,001 questions. The layering of it. And I said probably about 3 years ago that at some point I'd like to actually offer my course, because I created a course as a Reiki master and a teacher. I created my own chakra system course through years of research, and I used to run my course at my small business out of my house. And I've only touched on like, I don't know, 10% of what I know in regards to the chakra system in the videos that I've made, and those were like 3 years ago, or 2.5 years ago. I had made a series of chakra videos in the chakra video playlist. Please check that out. Although I look like a totally different person back then, because I was a totally different person back then. And then in 2019, as my, path went through this another pre-awakening phase where I was really sick. So there's this thing that I have noticed as a healing crisis or a healing initiation that all healers need to go through. In other words, healer, heal thyself. And through the course of my marriage, I became fatter and sicker and fatter and sicker and fatter and sicker. And there's a reason for that, because prior to that, I was not those things. I look back at the photos, and even though mentally I always thought that I was fat, I actually wasn't fat, ever, even though my mother routinely told me that I was growing up. But if I look at the photograph, I have photographic evidence that I can see not fat, not fat, not fat. Like maybe carrying a little bit of extra padding, but like not fat. It wasn't until I got married to a narcissistic person, and that's being nice at this stage, because I look at it now and I'm like, I don't even know what kind of cruel psychological disorder this person has, because, well, only a psychiatrist can diagnose them, but it was conscious cruelty. I'm going to say that. I'm going to call it that from this point forth, conscious cruelty. And through the process of that conscious cruelty, I got fatter and fatter and fatter and sicker and sicker and sicker over a 15-year span. And that brought me to such a low place, such a level of hell, that it triggered another spiritual awakening. And so that awakening began in 2019 when I heard very clearly, just after getting very sick, like I thought I was going to die, is how sick I was. And I heard, you have to save yourself. You have to save yourself. And I was like, how am I going to save myself? You know, I was the size of a manatee. I called myself that anyways. I suffered from severe self-loathing and not even depression. It was despondency. You know, it was a mystical depression of like, this life that is this mine it's horrible. And I didn't know how to get out of it. And so my primary mission at that point became healing my body. Because I knew that I wouldn't be able to do anything. I'd lost my job. I was let go. My position became redundant, and I was let go. And I rode social welfare for as long as I could. And then COVID came in, and there was some support there. And so it became my full-time job to heal my body. And somewhere inside of me, I knew that I would be in front of a camera one day. I didn't know in this regard. My goal, my aim was when I was lying in bed, completely just broken. Well, what are my skills? You know, what can I do? How am I supposed to save myself? How am I supposed to provide for my son? How am I supposed to survive in this world and escape out of this thing that I was trapped in, that was financially trapped me in? So, you know, one aspect of conscious cruelty is that they consciously fuck with your finances so severely that trying to extricate yourself out becomes impossible. So women become trapped. You know, how am I supposed to leave? How can, who's going to pay my bills? How am I? So all of those questions were spinning around in my head of how am I going to get out of this? How am I going to get out of this? And I knew because as a child, I went to specialized art school where half of the day was academics and half of the day was dance, theater, performance. So I've been on stage masking because, you know, the talent that is autism means you're really good at masking and trying to fit in. So theater became my passion. Like, I adore being on a stage. And so I said, well, that's a skill. That's a skill that I have, and that's the skill that I'm going to have to aim my plan towards. And that's how I'm going to save myself, because my own Reiki business had closed shop because heal thyself. My own health was getting so bad that every time I worked on somebody energetically, it was just too much for me. And I would just collapse at the end of the day. And I was getting, if I had seen like 4 clients in a row, I had to go home and do a spiritual bath and cleanse my energy. And I was just getting like completely run down. So I closed my dream of being a Reiki master, and this was back in 2015. You know, in 2015, 2016, my father died, which was initiated a crisis. And then my health declined. I went into a state of total burnout. And then I had to close my shop because I just couldn't keep that up. And at the time I was like, I need to figure out a way out of this. So I need to make money. And I became egoically focused on making enough money to get myself out, and threw myself into working in corporate industry at like shops, you know, big corporate shops, DIY kind of shops, because another skill set of mine is DIY. And so I'm like, okay, I can work at Home Depot. I can work at Lowe's. I can build myself up and climb this corporate ladder and, you know, this, which was nothing to do with my soul's mission. And like my ego was just grabbing onto a ladder that it was like, maybe this ladder is going to get me out of the suffering. And at one point I'm like, balancing 4 jobs, which was insanity. I'm like selling furniture at one place on the weekends, and during the week I've got a part-time job at Home Depot. I've got my Reiki business at home, and I'm also working as a Reiki master for a cancer facility. So I'm like juggling 1,000,001 balls in the air back in 2015, 2016. And my health is going on a steady decline until I completely and utterly collapse. And I'm just collected health conditions faster than anyone. It was like, I view it like collecting hockey cards or something. So when I was lying in bed at 2019, trying to figure out how the hell am I going to save myself out of this dysfunctional life that I call mine, and what can I do? Okay, I can act. That's something that I can do and I'm really good at. Who's going to hire a big fat actress? Sorry if that's somebody finds offensive. That's the type of way that I would talk to myself. So I'm not saying that to anybody else. I'm saying that that's the self-loathing program that was built into me. So, okay, I got to heal myself. So I took everything in me, like every ounce of strength I had to lose weight became my first mission so that I could cure the diabetes. And when I started, I couldn't even walk around a block. I couldn't even walk around a block because I had neuropathy pain shooting down into my left foot that every time I stepped on the foot, it was like electricity would go up the foot. And even walking a block, I'd be running back as fast as I can to like get to the toilet because I had incontinence, and that was mortifying. And that's where I started. I started with 1 block. I made myself a playlist that was like motivating music, and I set out on a journey of like a pilgrimage, an actual pilgrimage around my neighborhood, and each day expanding by 1 block. 1 block more, 1 block further, 1 block more, until I was walking a circuit of 5K a day. And when I say walking, I mean I was trekking it. And as I moved through the process, I began to get a lot more downloads and a lot more awareness and connection to spirit, which was amazing. That was telling me things like, you need to change. Like I went into, because of the foot pain and the knee pain on the other side from a knee injury, I went into a physiotherapist who'd done a gait test and said, you're walking wrong. And so I became a conscious meditation to be like, walk with feet forward and perfect posture. And so began aligned walking for me, which I've done lots of videos about in the body playlist. Please check those out if you haven't already. So I began realigning my physical body, knowing that if I realign my physical body, that my emotional body, my mental body, my spiritual body are all going to be forced to get into alignment as well. And like, man, did I work hard. I also went balls to the wall when it came to diet and nutrition. And I wasn't messing around. I had to escape. This was survival. This was evolve or die. And, over time, my diet became stricter and stricter as I started with, a low GI diet for the diabetes. It then became very obvious that I had candida overgrowth in my gut and an imbalance there. So then I went on an anti-candida diet, and then it became more and more eliminating things. So sugar was completely gone and is still. Carbohydrates became reduced to as few carbohydrates as I could muster in a day. And back at that time, I needed a little bit more density in my diet. So I replaced carbohydrates with other dense foods, such as chia and quinoa and rice, even on occasion, like a whole grain rice, not a white rice. And so I began in increments. It wasn't like overnight I just switched from how I used to eat to how I eat now, which is all kinds of crazy, and I wouldn't expect most people to be able to eat like I eat now. But I had to do this in increments, and as I did, the weight began to just like fall off, it faster than like, and when my weight fell off, my neck size decreased, which meant that the sleep apnea that I had was improving, because I had used to have to be on a CPAP machine. And one of the things that they say is for CPAP, for healing that, I had to quit smoking, was like a big thing. And I also had to reduce the size of my neck, the pressure, the weight that's on there. And so that became kind of tied into two missions in one, of heal the body. And I cured the sleep apnea and I cured the diabetes, because as my blood sugar regulated by not feeding it all the things that are going to keep it up, it reduced. And I'm still diabetes free. I recently had some blood work done. And although my cholesterol is a little high now, so now I have to worry about that. But that's a side note. So this method, this spiritual awakening had put into place in 2019, a real motivation, a real powerful, so entering into almost a bliss phase, because I was motivated. That was I lived, breathed, and slept healing work. I woke up in the morning, I went out for my 5K walk. I would come back, I would have my spiritual warrior's breakfast to give me all the nutrients and functional foods that I required to both kill the candida as well as heal the gut, including, because leaky gut is problematic. And I understood that was all built into everything wrong with my health system. So then my lunch became my bone broth that I ate. And then I would do in the afternoons my yin yoga, at least an hour of yin yoga. And when I started, my ability to do any form of stretching was like, I touch my toes. Yeah, no, none of that's going to happen. Half the positions I couldn't do, and I only do yin yoga, but half those positions I couldn't do because I wasn't flexible enough and I was too fat. So I always had to do the variants. There are always variants that you can do with yin yoga. This is the extreme pose. This is a gentler version of it. Like saddle pose. I still can't do saddle pose. That's just not going to happen. Maybe in another 5 years, I'll be able to do saddle pose. But so I do a variant of it and I just lean back. I don't ever put my head back down because I don't want to injure myself. There are other poses that are like, ow, like seriously difficult for me. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. There's a good few that are challenging for me that I can't quite get my body into those positions. But it's a work. It comes in increments. That's the point. Is healing is like in small little increments. So over time, I did heal my body more and more. And then phase 2 started, which was this whole Kundalini awakening. So that changed my awakening. That changed my awakening completely and utterly. And that's when things went like dark. Things went real dark. So there are a lot of ways that a Kundalini can be released. Kundalini is the energy that is stored in the sacrum, and everyone has a Kundalini. It's just not everyone has had it release. Monks and gurus have spent their lifetime, if not lifetimes, preparing. And it's most likely I've spent in past lifetimes preparing for the Kundalini. But in this particular lifetime, I was unprepared. Other than the fact that I was doing walking and getting my body in alignment and eating healthier and doing yin yoga. So I guess in a lot of ways I was preparing, but mentally I wasn't prepared. It wasn't like I was going to an ashram and dedicating my life to preparing for Kundalini. Had I been prepared for Kundalini, I wouldn't have lived how I lived for the last the prior 30 years, partying like it was 1999. Because, when the Kundalini, this energy that gets released through your sacrum, it flows up your entire energetic system. And if it's going to hit blocks and blockages, which is trauma and unhealthy habits and unhealthy attitudes, then your awakening is going to be way worse, like way worse. That's why, monks and people yogis and stuff, they go and they prepare for all of their lives. At age 20 or whatever, they join an ashram and they spend like countless days in meditation and eating like 100% clean diet, lentils and more lentils. And they, practice their prayer and service and yoga, and they're practicing. That's all practicing. They dedicate their lives to preparing for a Kundalini. And I had dedicated my life to avoiding suffering at all costs and finding any which way to avoid suffering, including all the bad ways, all the ways not to do it, but the ways that the most of us in North America do it: smoking, drinking, pharmaceuticals, cannabis, microdosing, sacred medicines, caffeine, working too much, people pleasing, fawning, like you name it. I was going to try anything and everything to get out of suffering, because I was suffering from the time that I was adopted at age 2. I've been suffering. So I had to find ways to cope with the suffering, with this pain body, as Eckhart Tolle calls it, this pain body that existed in me. I needed to find ways to shut it up, to pacify it, to deny it, to repress it, to push it away, to pretend everything's hunky-dory, to crack jokes, whatever it was going to take to like help me deal with the pain. And so when my spiritual awakening triggered me to start healing really healing, not just doing a little bit of shadow work and sitting down doing the occasional meditation or doing a vision board, but really doing the healing work, getting out walking every single day, getting my physical body in alignment, eating foods that were like going to help heal the interior of my body, and doing like the work, doing the actual work. What happens is it was preparing me, soul knew, I didn't know. Soul knew that, okay, you need to prepare because in 2021, something's going to happen and you need to be physically fit enough for it. So soul was guiding me and I was on a mission to get as healthy as possible. And then I had another crisis, which was losing my best friend at the beginning of 2021. That was like exceptionally painful. And the losses, and I've done videos on this, but the losses that you will go through on a Kundalini awakening are unreal, because your connections that you have when you were living yourself in dysfunction, eating the toxic foods, doing the toxic habits, all of those things, you're going to attract others that are vibrating at the same frequency, which is toxic, right? So when you are a drinker, you hang out with other drinkers. When you quit drinking, it's no longer going to work for you. So that was one thing that there was conflict, because she was still a drinker. I was not a drinker. I had quit drinking already at this stage. And so energetically, it was like, this is not, like, this does not vibe well for me. It's making me feel uncomfortable. So that was like just so painful a loss for me, that I began the grieving process at that stage and began feeling like a lot of like complex post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms begin because breaking bonds with codependent or trauma bonded relationships. And trauma bonded relationships doesn't just mean romantic ones. It means trauma bonded relationships with family, trauma bonded relationships with friends. And as far as I was concerned, she was my numero uno person. She was my person that like I'd known for 20 plus years. And, you know, the fact that the relationship was not healthy had nothing, it didn't matter. I was stuck in there. So when that broke apart, you know, some of my reality began to crumble. Some of my stability began to completely crumble. But I just got myself up and kept on walking and kept on walking and kept on walking. And that's how I primarily handled it. And then in the fall of 2021, I had this twin flame awakening. Okay. So, this is, unless you have experienced it, it defies logic. It defies reason. It is the strangest thing you will ever go through. It is weird as no get out. At times you're going to think you're totally crazy. You're going to doubt. It doesn't make any sense, but it's real. It's real. I am not going to deny that the reality of this situation, that things occurred. So I met a soul, a person that activated in me a heart opening. And trust me, when that happens, you'll know. And then activated my Kundalini the next day. So and that was like, if you have a Kundalini, you'll know as energy is released from your sacrum and travels up all the way through your body, out the top of your crown. And you're like, ah! Like, it was very known to me that something that had never happened to me before was happening to me. And it was beyond ecstasy in that moment. You know, I was alone at home, but it had everything to do with this person, because I was texting this person and I could, like, energetically, it was like they were there with me, even though they weren't there with me. And it as I said, unless you've been through these types of things, they would sound crazy to anybody else. Previous versions of me would have been like, whoa, that's weird. That's kind of cool. Now, a Kundalini doesn't just get activated through a twin flame situation. That's one way. It can be activated through a near-death experience, a traumatic illness, giving birth. It can be activated with an out-of-body experience. It can be activated, you know, there's many ways that the Kundalini, or through Kundalini yoga, through doing like extensive yoga practice. It can be activated through tantric yoga. It can be activated. So here I'm doing more and more to my body, which in itself is a tantric practice. Prepping my body for something I don't know that's coming, but spirit does. And boom, I have this Kundalini, which takes a spiritual awakening and puts it on overdrive, like absolute overdrive. And that's when it just, from that point on, it was the collapse. It was the energy of Kali Ma, coming in and destroying my life. Absolutely destroying my life, which needed to be destroyed. So I want to talk. So it takes an awakening and it speeds it up. It's like an awakening on speed or steroids or both. And it puts into motion. It's a catalyst. That's why the soul it's a catalyst of something that happens that begins to completely collapse your 3D world, your identity, your interior world, your body in many, many ways. And just, it's like a wrecking ball that just comes in and puts you into a long walk through hell. And that's when I adopted the quote from Winston Churchill, "When in hell, keep walking," became my mantra for a very long time until I couldn't actually walk anymore. And so from that point, it then kicked into action, you can't be in this marriage anymore. Like this has to go. It has to go now. So another trauma bond collapsed, and this trauma bond, being married to somebody who is consciously cruel, is altogether the most mentally challenging part of this journey, because I've had people say to me over the last few years, a couple of very insensitive people say, just get over it and move on. You don't just move on from narcissistic abuse or abuse. You do not, because the amount of damage that has been done to you is physiological, chemical, as well as mental, like psychological and emotional. And that's not even including those that have physical abuse. I didn't have physical abuse, but I certainly had, psychological warfare at such a level that it rewires your brain, okay? It rewires your brain and creates neural pathways that completely destroy your identity. So my identity of who I had become, that woman, that married woman that I became, wasn't me. It wasn't who I was prior to the relationship. They chip away at you so much that you become kind of like a zombie. Like I was like totally a zombie. If you look into my eyes, I was not there. I was zoned out. Add pharmaceuticals to the mix, and I was just numbed because there was so much reprogramming that is involved with convincing you through what is known as like not just manipulation, but real psychological warfare, like sick stuff, that you need this person. So chemically, you are convinced. Your body betrays your own mind and convinces you that you need this person. It's like the worst drug you could possibly imagine. I don't know what the most addictive drug is. I think it's heroin. That's what I equate a relationship to one of these types of individuals is like. It's like a heroin addiction, because when you're not with this person and you're not getting the dopamine hit that they provide, right? Because abuse isn't bad shit, bad shit, bad shit. That's not what abuse is. Abuse is bad shit, dopamine. But the bad shit doesn't come as obvious as like a punch in the face, that you could see. It comes as confusion. It comes as chaos. It comes as constant mess. It comes as financial abuse. It comes at reactionary abuse that is so like, what is even happening? Like you just ask the question, what is even happening? I don't understand what's going on. Oh my God. And then you go into a reaction, and then you like pull back after the reaction. And then you need them to make you feel better for the reaction. So it is a cortisol spiking in your brain that's keeping you like in a state of fight or flight, which is a physiological response, which keeps your adrenals pumping, which shuts down your natural hormone regulation of your body, which dysregulates your entire body's everything system, your immune system, your digestive system, your ability to sleep effectively, all of your systems. And then it convinces you that it's them that you need to make you feel better. it's them that you need. So like one of their tools that they use is called D.A.R.V.O. Okay. So they all seem to work on a same playbook, by the way, which is like all kinds of strange as well. And D.A.R.V.O. stands for deny, attack, reverse victim, and defender. And this stuff is like, it's psychological warfare is what it is. It's conscious cruelty, psychological warfare at such a level that it's sick. It's like, it's sadist. It's like, I don't know. It doesn't really even matter at this stage what definition you want to give it, like sociopathy or psychopathy or like sadism. It's conscious cruelty. That's what I'm calling it, which is evil. And it is so destabilizing to your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, that when you finally go no contact, and for me, that's been 2.5 years. I'm coming up on 2 years since I successfully navigated to my divorce, which in itself, I'm like amazed that I was able to do that. But it's so destabilizing that my healing journey switched tactics into a totally different realm. You know, so here I'd been healing my body and kind of doing so well and feeling really good about myself, and got myself involved with a group, an improv group, to get myself that agent, to get myself back into acting. You see, I was very focused on where I was trying to get myself, and then this happened. So I'm having a Kundalini awakening, and my life gets sped up. And the things that don't work have to be removed. And so Kali Ma came in and through me, got this out of my life. And then the healing that had to happen post this kind of abuse altered my healing trajectory completely, like into a different realm. So where before I was very physically active, now I was almost bedridden for a very long period of time. And it was like going to regulate the chemistry in my brain that kept telling me I needed this person, even though I had, and it took me a while because when you don't just leave a narcissistic person like that. Well, first of all, there's that. There is no just leave. There is escape. And escape had to be as calculated out as like some CIA movie, I needed to go through a process. It took so much work. I asked for a divorce in December of 2021. I didn't manage to get him out of the house until 2022, July. In that period of time, we were separated because he couldn't afford to go anywhere. He had nowhere to go. So it was the same bullshittery that I'd been hearing for the last 10 years. And he was hoovering the crap out of me, being Mr. Nice Guy, driving me here, driving me there, and on his best behavior, trying to do everything that he would have normally done to get me to like come back into the relationship. And I wasn't having it. I was stronger. I was in resolve. And that is most importantly due to this twin flame connection that was like a motivator of like, don't go back, go forward. Don't go back, go forward. It's not like that person was there saying to me, come this way. That's not the way it was. But in my mind, I needed that carrot being dropped of that feeling of what it felt like to feel like home with somebody, to feel like Oh, like the bliss, the bliss feeling was so tempting. So it was like, I equate it to like going to a wedding shop and testing all the different types of wedding cakes, and all you get is like a forkful. You don't get the whole cake. You don't get the 12-tier cake. You just get a mouthful, and you're like, what do you think of this? And you're like, oh my God, that's the best thing I've ever tasted in my entire fucking life. I want that. I want that. And so I wanted that little morsel. I wanted whatever that was, because I'd never experienced that before in my life. And so that little morsel of energy, even though he was long gone and out of my life, that morsel of energy kept me focused on the goal. So all that hoovering that I was experiencing, trying to get me sucked back in, and it was powerful. Like we're talking Dyson level hoovering going on, trying to pull me back in, just kept me motivated to keep working at it. So I went and did sacred medicines in the summer of 2022. And that kicked into action and opened me something fierce. And the next thing I know, I'm getting him out of my house and going, get the fuck out of my house, get the fuck out of my house. You know, I have no idea who that person is, but Spirit was talking through me, because Spirit will not tolerate you being in toxic situations on this Kundalini awakening. Kundalini is like, no, this has got to go. This has got to go. You have no choice. You have no choice. So even though he was being my best friend, and I was like deluded into thinking we were becoming like consciously uncoupled, and we were going to have some magical Gwyneth Paltrow thing where we were going to become really good friends. That's what I was deluded into thinking. That's not the reality. So from that point, he was also, of course, using the fact that my mother had attacked me with her, you're making the stupidest mistake of your life. You'll never marry anyone. Nobody else will ever love you. You're unlovable. You'll never marry. You're useless. You can't do anything. I hung up the phone. So now I've got a Kundalini awakening. I have PTSD from my mother. I have PTSD from losing my friend. I am physically still trying to get my body back in wellness. I have no job, and my marriage is falling apart, and I have this weird twin thing that's pulling me into the light, and I go off and do sacred medicines, and it releases a new level of get the fuck out of my house. So from that point, I lost it. I was starting to lose it. I was very much losing it. And it was at that point that I was hospitalized against my will for 3 days, which was also traumatizing. So I literally just done sacred medicines, and I'm like, ooh. So this is why I give warning to people to not do sacred medicines. To be very cautious to do, especially when you add sacred medicines to Kundalini, which is like pouring a can of petrol on top of a fire. And then on top of that, you're going through a trauma bond breakdown that is equivalent to quitting cold turkey heroin. Most people who quit heroin have to be put on a substitute pharmaceutical to help them with the withdrawal symptoms. So I was losing my mind. I called my doctor, and I'm like, I need lorazepam. I need something that's going to calm me. And because I stupidly said yes when they asked me if I was having suicidal ideation, they called a wellness check, and next thing I know is there's an ambulance and a police car coming to pick me up and take me away. And they put me in a hospital with a mattress on the floor because I was erratic. I was having a panic attack and wanted lorazepam, and I think most people would be erratic when they're forced into a vehicle against their will. I was trying the best I can. It's not like I was screaming or shouting or anything like that, but I 100% was erratic. That was not how to handle somebody who had just had sacred medicines, who is just going through a separation, like the physical separation of a trauma bond, and who's having a Kundalini awakening. It was terrifying, and it traumatized me severely. There's a medical trauma. Thanks for that. Thanks for that. That really didn't help. So when I got out of the hospital, and this was when my awakening really started to shift. I was trying to still hold on to my daily pattern of doing able and this, that, and the other. And then the next thing I know is my mother dies. My mother dies and I'm plummeted into a legal battle because my mother owns my house. So the threat of losing my house is now hanging over me, and I'm thrown into a legal battle with family members. And I do what I always do, is to go back to the person that was abusing me. And when I say I went back, I didn't go back as in like relationship, but like I turned to him because I had nobody else. Because part of the process of being in a relationship with a toxic person is they triangulate you from absolutely everybody. So I didn't have anybody. So where else was I supposed to go? My mother just died. I was in a legal battle. My life is falling apart. I'm having a Kundalini. I'm having chronic pain at pain level number 11, and it's too much. And I don't know what to do. And so we became friends. And, you know, there was this dancing going on of this manipulation and of this, you know, hoovering that had begun again, that had started for another whole period. Now, he didn't move back in the house, but we were still talking every single day. We were seeing each other every single day. You know, he'd come and drive me to a medical appointment, and we'd go for lunch and this, that, and the other. And then come around all the way another, like, I don't know, 8 months or so, he drops the bomb that lands on my head and splits me open in 1,000,001 ways. And I honestly believe that this is more psychological warfare. And because he said, you know, listen, I fucked up. I fucked up big time. And I'd heard that so many times, you know, so many times. I dropped the ball. I want to try harder. Let's do counseling. We've done all that. Like, we've done that cycle, the abuse cycle that is the future faking and the trying really hard. And I dropped the ball and I'm so sorry and I love you. And like the persistence was like, that's one of the things that I loved about him, was like, he was so persistent. He just kept trying. Like, look, he just loves me so much. He's so persistent. I like deluded myself to see that persistence was what was good about our relationship, when what it was manipulation. And I said, no, I'm not getting back together with you because I still have this like memory of this yummy piece of cake that I wanted to have. And I'm like, I'm in love with somebody else. It's not going to work. And they're like, listen, and besides which, I don't trust you. You need to like come clean about everything. You're not coming clean. And so he came clean. And when he came clean, he broke me. He broke my brain. I don't know if other people can understand what it's like to have your brain stolen from you, robbed from you. Because when you find out that the entire marriage was a lie, he was in love with somebody else the entire time, he'd had an affair, he had admitted to manipulation, lying, reactionary abuse, purposeful raging at my son to triangulate us, financial abuse, and then to sexually touching 3 children when he was young. Brain broken. I'm having a Kundalini. I'm in pain. I'm in post-traumatic stress. And so for the next 6 months of that, I am in terror, abject terror. I'm swirling between, like, I don't know if this person's trying to kill me or this person's trying to save me, and I don't have any other persons, and I'm scared out of my fucking tree, and things went like crazy dark. And in a state of like crazy, an ambulance gets called and I get taken away to the hospital again. And I don't say anything this time. I'm like, I'm fine. I was far from fine, but that was the last place on earth that I wanted to be. I was far from fine. So I was not going to tell any medical doctors about Kundalini, about the fact that I think my husband is trying to kill me, about, all I could say was I'm having heart pain, which was true because like panic, your heart's, I'm now also having delusions because my brain is broken and I don't know what's what, and I'm getting spiritually like warfare. Like it's like the spiritual warfare that I experienced was crazy. And I didn't know, was this spiritual warfare? I never even heard of spiritual warfare. Honest to God, I didn't know what the hell was going on when I started hearing things that I shouldn't have been hearing. And I didn't know if he had laced my marijuana, because I used cannabis as a way to kind of like get myself through all that first part of my Kundalini awakening, was stabilizing me. No wonder I was in like a kind of blissed out state, because I was high all the time, you know, not overly high, but high enough to go out walking and high enough to like put on my music and do some yin yoga. You know, I was using cannabis, a balanced CBD and THC to help motivate me as a healing modality, to help me in my healing. And so I didn't know what the hell was going on, and I didn't know if he had put something in my... He was always shoving cannabis towards me, try this strain, try this, always, which I thought was very weird, as well as previously, because I stopped drinking alcohol. When I stopped drinking alcohol, then he started on the marijuana. Try this. And it wasn't until somebody actually said to me earlier, you know, have you ever considered that maybe he doesn't want you healthy? That I realized, yeah, he's also always pushing bad foods and always pushing alcohol, and he's always pushing shit that like actually isn't really good for me. So I don't know if that's some weird form of Munchausen's by proxy, where he was trying to recreate some sort of like dynamic from his childhood because his mother had been ill, and that, you know, had to by taking care of me, he made himself feel better. Like he felt like he was a good person because he's a caretaker. So I have to make her sick so I can take care of her, and then I can feel like a good person. That's kind of what I think was going on. But like, I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm just a woman trapped in a marriage that like I can't get out of, and there's so much fuckeries going on. And so that night that like I was taken to the hospital again, and I was like, I came home, I threw all my drugs in the garbage. Hundreds of dollars of drugs, boom, into the garbage. Off went any of my all the cannabis that I had. And I was like, I'm quitting that cold turkey. So then I was focused on getting as sober as I possibly could, watching everything. I'm going to watch you. I'm going to watch everything you do and everything you say. And like, I don't know what's going on. And even who are you? And like, what is happening? And you are my person, my not person? Are you trying to kill me? Are you not trying to kill me? I don't know what's going on. Who are you? And so he ingratiated himself in for the next, because I was so unstable that he became my stability again. For the next 4 months until I caught him in another lie. And then I went cold turkey. Cold turkey, trauma bond, cut off. So now I'm stone cold sober, and I've just freed myself from the trauma bond of like I don't even know. I don't even know. And that's when shit went insane. For the next 6 months, it was like heroin withdrawal. Because when you go cold, like no contact with somebody, it was like withdrawal. I was lying in bed, like shaking, because the chemistry in your brain is programmed to want that dopamine hit that comes after the cortisol. So you've got high cortisol levels and no dopamine coming in. And so you go into like the detox. You are literally detoxing. And you're going to shake, and you're going to like freak out, and like, oh my God, how am I going to survive? Maybe I should go back to this person. Maybe they're the only one. Maybe I'm making a mistake. Maybe I'm wrong. I need them. Look at my anxiety. You start having panic attacks and anxiety, and like the terror, the fear, the panic, the panic attacks, it was, I thought I was going to die. I did think that many times. I thought I was going to die as I was literally holding on to dear life, to a pillow in my room with like 1,000,001 affirmations all over the place. I am safe, like all over the place, holding on. And I did videos all the way through this, which is crazy to me. Holding on for dear life. But I still had to get divorced. I still didn't have an actual divorce. I was still technically married to this person. So I have a legal battle that's weighing on me. I have chronic pain. I have a Kundalini, and I'm trying to deal with all of that and deal with the withdrawal that comes from breaking a trauma bond, and headaches, nightmares, sweats, inability to eat. I lost even more weight after that. Like, I went super skinny. Like, it was bad. I have photos. I look like it was not good. There were many days that I was not eating at all. So I had one friend at the time, and she would get in touch with me and say, have you eaten today? Have you eaten today? And so I would force myself to have a smoothie, and it took everything in me to have that. And I was getting skinnier and skinnier and skinnier, and, not healthy skinny. And, she kept me alive. That one friend that I had met, and sadly she has left my life since, but, she kept me alive. I have much gratitude towards her, in that stretch. And so it got to the point from September to January of the next year. So that would be January of 2023, where I needed to obtain my divorce. And that meant breaking no contact. And that was the last thing that I wanted to do, because in that period of time of no contact from September to January, as I said, the withdrawal that I went through and the trying to make sense of everything and put my life back together, I was flattened, I was absolutely flattened. It's when I had a hammock, and I put a hammock in my room, and I would lie in my hammock and just rock myself like continuously. I felt like I should be in a mental institution, even though the last place I wanted to be was a mental institution, because I didn't feel safe there. But I would just rock myself for hours, for days, just, it's okay, you are safe. It's okay, you are safe. And to break no contact was exceptionally difficult. But I reached out and got into contact via email or text message, and was like, I want a divorce. I have found, because I didn't want any more lawyers and any more nonsense. I just wanted a signed divorce paper, right? So I knew with how narcissistic people work, and I knew that this person, because I observed, I was their helper for 5 years in family court with their ex. Okay. So I knew how that went. And, I had become their makeshift lawyer, helping them with all of their, because you can go years in family court. So I wanted absolutely nothing. The house still, luckily, thank God, see, there's timing. It is sometimes miraculously not getting what you want is a wonderful stroke of luck, because when my mother died, had we not gone into legal battle and I had just got my house, then I would have been in a legal battle with him over assets, right? But as it stood in our marriage, we had nothing but debt. We had nothing, no assets, shared assets, and we had no shared children. So I didn't need to have a separation agreement. I asked for nothing, even though I was fully entitled to ask for spousal support. I was like, no, that's an energetic tie to this person. I want zero ties, cut all cords, clear. I want absolutely nothing. So I found a mediation service that all you pay them to write the divorce decree up to be sent to the court, and you both sign it, and it takes a week. And I was like, okay. I got in touch with this woman, and I was like, we'll go 50-50 on the divorce. Okay, how about that? We just go 50-50. I knew he didn't have a hope of paying me, but that's what the agreement originally was. We'd go 50-50 on the divorce, and no spousal, no nothing. Once those papers are signed, that's it. We're done. That's all I want. And I said to him, if you don't do that, I will expose you for everything. I will apply to the court, like through the courts, legally through the courts. I will provide all the written confirmations, all the confessions that you have provided me. I will put through the court that you have abused me. I will put through the court, everything that has gone down. So you have a choice. No contest, sign a piece of paper, pay 50%, which I know you won't, but I'm going to at least try. Or we're going to go this route, and it's going to be legally recorded in a court of law, everything that you've done. So which choice do you want? He said, fine, I'll sign the divorce decree. No problem. He signed it, and then boom, I was like, a week later is like, okay, now that I am finally free, I have to deal with the reality of the confession. I can't hold this anymore. I can't hold this confession that he has given me in regards to the conscious cruelty that he had done to 3 other individuals when they were children. I can't. In good conscience, I can't. And the horror story that was my life, I reached out to him one last time in an exchange, and I have this text message photographed in my files, saying, I'm still struggling with what you did as a human being. And he came back with absolutely no remorse, and D.A.R.V.O. Deny, attack, reverse victim, offender is exactly what I got written back to me. And I knew then that he was not repentant. He was not atoning for anything. And I can't personally make him atone for anything, but I can give it to the proper authorities and take it off because the weight of that knowledge was killing me. It was killing me. It was emotionally killing me through those, from the time that he told me to, it took a total of 9 months. I needed to obtain my divorce first. And then once I did to obtain my divorce, I phoned the police. And that phone call was the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. I was lying on the floor, shaking and crying with my legs up against the wall. I was terrified that I was going to get in trouble because it had taken me 9 months to come clean to the police that I had a confession that was provided to me. And they were like, why would you get in trouble? But your mind is so mangled that and triggered from your own programming as a child of never tell the police, never tell anybody, never tell authorities, never talk, So this was breaking not just one cycle, but many cycles of opening and speaking your truth. It's very, I admire people, and I had never done that before. I had never come completely clean about, except maybe to like some psychiatrists and psychologists, about the abuse from my mother, nor had I ever gone to the police in regards to my own sexual assaults. So I was always in admiration for people that did that, because I was too scared. I was way too scared. So for me to call the police now, I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified that it would reverse victim me somehow, because that's always what happened, right? You when you are in relationship, in childhood, in marriage, in friendship with consciously cruel people, what they do is they twist it around so much that you think that you are the problem, and you're going to get blamed. You're going to get blamed. You're going to get blamed, shamed, or guilted. In some manner, it's going to come back on you, and it's going to hurt more. So you learn the lesson to stay silent. You learn the lesson to shut the fuck up. You know, my mother would do things and say things, and I knew it was lies, and I knew it was bullshit, and I knew it was like her making up like a story, and I'd be like, mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. Like, you just learn, because if you call it out, you get punished for it. There is consequences for calling things out. So here I'm calling things out big style, like big style calling things out. And I have to say, actually, one of the motivators for me to do that was Virginia Giuffre. I think that's how you pronounce her name. She called out Prince Andrew. Now, if she can do that, then, you know, I can do this. And so she is still a personal hero of mine. So she is. And so I called the police, and they said, please email me this, the confession. I emailed it to them because I had it in text message. I still have it in text message. And they said that they would take care of it, and this, that, and the other. Being a historical case, it's completely and utterly up to those people that he hurt, whether they want to do anything about it. And from what I gathered, they don't. Because the phone call that I made to find out what was happening with the case was, there's no victims. Well, if nobody's saying, yes, that happened. So that lies, either he lied to me, or he lied to the police, or the victims that he did, and I think that it's more to the point, the victims that he did didn't want to press charges, because one of his victims had pressed charges before me. And he also confessed to perjuring himself on the stand, and which is why he got off. So that's why victims don't want to come forward and come clean, is because when they do, they don't get justice. They get blamed, and then there's consequences. And further, their own health takes the major hit. So my health took a major hit. So that's 2 years ago that I was flattened to the fucking ground, and I have been climbing myself out of the pits of hell for 2 solid years, dealing with the fallout that is this insane cruelty to myself and my son. There's a lot of guilt that I carry because what my son endured. Lots of raging, lots of inappropriate raging. And I had myself convinced for so long that I was protecting my son by putting myself in between my son and him, and being in a protector mama bear and fighting for my son. I thought that I was doing the right thing. I was not. I should have left. So, you know, if you've got young children and you are contemplating what is in the best interest of the children, should I stay or should I go? My advice to you is go, run, escape, get out, because a child will do much better off having an environment of safety and security with you, than being always enmeshed in chaos, and you having your back to them because you're fighting the other parent or co-parent or step-parent or whatever. Your back is to them. Leave and put your back to the conscious cruelty person. Put your back to them and put your face to your kids. I did it backwards. I had my face to him. And the more embroiled I got with him, the more my son felt ignored. And he has every right to feel that way. and it's going to take me a very long time to correct that. So I felt a lot of guilt. I felt so much shame. You know, how could I not know? How could I not see it? How could I, you know, am I a bad person? Did I do wrong? What, you know, like the shadowy depths of hell that I've been walking for the last 2 years. I wouldn't wish on anyone. I wouldn't even wish on him. I wouldn't wish on any single human being that they have to go through what I went through. And I've been trying as hard as I can to, like, I got to heal this as fast as I can. I got to heal this as fast as I can so that I can have a semblance of life again. And that meant understanding that without health, I had nothing. So I had to go deeper and deeper and deeper into healing, into the healing work, because I couldn't avoid it. Like, what was I going to use? I had no more substances to, like, mask and pretend. I had no more masking. I had no more tools or strategies that kept me, like, performatively living life like everything was okay, like just getting on with it. And even though people were saying to me, like, just get over it, let him move on with his life and you will move on with yours. I had somebody actually say that to me, and I'm like, I'm trying. I am trying as hard as I possibly can to pick myself up off the floor. I had to literally, so now my nervous system is completely shot. And I spent countless days, I can't even tell you how many days I spent lying in my garden, holding on to the grass for dear life, and in a state of constant prayer and just practicing breath work. You know, it wasn't meditation. It wasn't about clearing the mind. It was literally holding on to the ground of, like, I need to ground myself, because if I get up, I'm going to collapse. I'm going to, like, have a nervous breakdown. I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to go insane. So I'm just going to hold on till one day I can, like, walk around without having to hold onto the ground. And I would just be holding onto the ground, and I would be saying, this is Mother Earth holding me. This is what Mother Energy is. Mother Energy, gravity is holding me in place. I am held. I'm reprogramming the inner child that's freaking the fuck out, and I am held. And I'm connecting to Father Sky and breathing. The air is providing for me. I am held and I am provided for. I am held and I am provided for. And if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be alive. I would not be alive, just staying stuck on the ground, lying there. And still I'm doing videos, because as I am going through this, I'm like, how the hell is anyone else going to survive this? If I have to find these crazy tools to survive, how the hell is anybody else going to survive this Kundalini awakening, these breaking up of trauma bonded relationships that are altogether, you know, it melts you. It absolutely melts you, disintegrating your identity over and over and over again as you go through ego death and go through trauma release. So all of this stuff actually had to happen for it to poke and prod me into the most inner core of my woundings as a child. So there is the trauma bond that is the present day situation, but there is the trauma that created the perfect storm in the first place. Had I not experienced abuse and adoption as a child, I would not have felt at home or comfortable or familiar energy with this type of conscious, cruel individual. So we repeat the energies of our childhood in our adulthood, where it's like we're all playing performance art, trying to, like, rewrite the story of, like, this time I'm chosen and this time I'm loved and this time it'll work out. Only it's not supposed to work out. It's supposed to break you. like on this spiritual awakening, it's supposed to break you and break you open so that you start living a completely different consciousness, a completely different life. You're no longer living with the caterpillar people. You're living with the butterfly people. But to go from caterpillar to butterfly, you melt into goo, like absolute goo. So this was my goo. And I've been in goo for the last 2 years, still having to navigate through the court situation. And that has elements I can't even begin to tell you about. Okay? I can't, because it just, it's insanity, like absolute fucking insanity. And, but again, it was necessary to break the situations apart, break things down, break this, that. So when I finally escaped from my house this last summer, that was like a huge weight off it was like I was no longer trapped in this sinking ship and like pulling me under, and I was able to pay off my debt, because I've been living in debt since 2019. I've been living in debt, surviving off of debt, trying to stay afloat, trying to build a business, trying to do this, trying. And, but Kundalini wasn't finished with me. There was more to poke and prod out of me to get. It's like exercising the demons that exist within me, the dark that exists within me, by cutting open scar tissue and like digging out the gangrenous shit, going to the muck to unfuck is literally going into your own nervous system, into your own fascia, into your own wounds, to get it out, and trauma plus trauma bonds plus Kundalini equals the most, like, those that survive this are warriors. Those that survive this are warriors. And warrior work sometimes looks like lying in the grass, holding on for dear life. Warrior work sometimes looks like lying in your bed, doing somatic release, which I'm still doing, even this morning. I'm lying in bed and I'm freaking the fuck out because I have another impending move. And, even though this is for my highest and greatest good, I'm terrified because, I got moved around a lot as a child, from foster home to parent to foster home to new home, new family, so moving freaks me out. But at the same time, it's my soul's mission to travel. Those are counterintuitive. And our fear and our soul's mission and our egoic desire to stay still and our soul's desire to break free are going to be at polar opposite ends of a spectrum. And in between those ends, the collapsing process comes with a lot of terror, fear, shaking, to collapse the duality of those two polar extremes so that I can be free to travel again, and not, convince myself of staying still, my ego wanted to stay here. My ego was trying to negotiate out a place just 3 places down and go like, yeah, it would be so great. I'd be close to my son and it's my familiar. And I know this town, even though I hate this town, I know this town that I'm in, and I know my way around, and it's okay. That's what my ego said. And when my ego was trying to negotiate with the landlord, the landlord got a little shady. There was some shady shit happening. And my soul was like, no. No. We are not letting you participate in shady shit because it makes your ego feel safe and secure in its comfort zone. You're not allowed to stay in your comfort zone. Life is outside of your comfort zone. And my soul is pulling me, and it was all divinely orchestrated that I found this next place that I'm going to, which is on a lake, which is what my soul needs right now. My soul needs loons, okay? My soul needs loons to fall asleep to in the summer, loons. And so it was all divinely orchestrated. It's an area that I'm actually familiar with, but it's 2.5 hours away. It's 2.5 hours away from here. And my ego is freaking out. My inner child is freaking out. I'm like, I just learned to drive. I just learned to drive in October, which was another thing I had to do to claim my independence back, because in not driving was how he had controlled me for many, many years. So my inner child's like, I need to drive. I need to drive 2.5 hours over top of one of the busiest cities in Canada and on the major highways. And I'm like, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I feel like I saw a movie a while back about an Australian girl who soloed. She went solo sailing down to the Cape of South Africa and back to, I don't know the route. But anyways, solo, 16-year-old on a sailboat in the Pacific Ocean. Like, what now? Like, is that even the Pacific? Is that the Indian Ocean? Anyways, she went on an ocean and like by herself. Now, if she can do that, I can drive 2.5 hours and situate myself in a place that my soul is going to be able to heal. Like my body will be able to heal. My emotions will be able to heal. What's waiting for me there? Other than a lake, I have no idea what kind of life I'm walking into. None whatsoever. I don't know people there. No one. I don't, have something like a system or a structure. I work online, so I'm like building my business as an online business. I want to write and dedicate a piece of my life to me and say, okay, now's your opportunity to write. I want to build things. But I can't write, I can't build things, I can't create when I'm my nervous system's like, when I'm in the throes of dark night of the soul and ego death, and I don't even know who I am. I can't do any of those things. So I have to get out of my comfort zone and go on this massive journey. And, it's scary. It is scary. I'm scared. I'm very scared. I'm truly going to be alone, and I am alone. I have my son, and I love my son. He is a 25-year-old man doing his own thing, does not need to be responsible for his crazy mother going through a Kundalini. What even is that? He's not, what is that? Family doesn't understand what a Kundalini is. Unless you're going through it, you wouldn't understand it. He's not having a spiritual awakening. He's not going through a Kundalini yet. Maybe in 5 years, maybe 10 years. I don't know. Maybe. He's not going, he's living his life, and he needs to live his life peacefully without, having to worry about his mom all the time. And so I don't want to burden him. That's the last thing I want to do, is to be a burden upon him. So which means I am alone. I am alone. And that is part of this awakening journey, is to accept your aloneness, especially when you have a history of trauma bonds. If all your main relationships were trauma bonded, the last thing I want to do is make a trauma bond with my son. I want to be like, you go be independent, fly, do what you need to do, live your life to the full. I'm here at the end of the phone call if ever you need. I'll be here for you, but I'm not going to dump my stuff on you. That's the wrong way to do it. That would be codependent. I don't want to teach codependence. From day one, I've wanted to teach him independence. My parenting structure has been from day one to everything opposite to the way that I was raised. I've made mistakes, but I basically have done everything opposite to the way that I was raised. which is why it was a blessing that I wasn't able to come home to Canada for 10 years. It was a blessing I was alone in a foreign country because I didn't have the influence of that toxicity around me or my son in the formative years that he was being developed. So he's like way better than I ever was, like at his age, like way more together, way more grounded, way more responsible. Like, and that's because I did everything opposite to the way that I was raised. And that's not to say I was a perfect parent, but at least I gave him opportunities that I wasn't provided. And it's necessary for my soul to create a bit of a divide. When our children fly the coop, we want them to fly. We don't, we want them to be independent. We want them to grow as their own man, their own person. And that, empty nest syndrome, that many of us experience, it's challenging and it's difficult, but the healthiest thing to do is to actually step back and let them make their mistakes and let them learn their lessons and let them do their life. And the same can be said for any other relationship that you might have that you're trying to save them or protect them or mother them or, take care of them, whether it be sibling or, a parent or, there's so much enmeshment in our society's systems of relationship that it's not healthy. It's very, very toxic. And so first we need to learn to be an independent entity, a sovereign entity of self. That means, spending time in hermit mode like a monk for a period of time to allow you to heal from those trauma bonds. I would not have been able to date anyone in the last 2 years, not a chance. I'm so not interested in dating anyways, but a problem that a lot of people do is to jump into another relationship as a means to, I'm having that withdrawal, I'm having the anxiety, I'm having the panic. Oh, if I only had another man, that might solve the problem, or woman, depending on what your situation is. If I only had somebody else, then I'm going to feel less alone. Then I'm going to feel less, anxiety. Then I'm going to feel safe and secure. And what Spirit has taught me over and over and over again is that's your job. That's your job to heal your wounds. It's your job to save yourself. It's your job to reparent yourself. It's your job to recomfort yourself. It's your job to provide for yourself. It's your job to do any of those things. And when you become fully sovereign, not needing people to validate you or needing people to drive you places or needing people to financially provide for you or needing people to soothe you and comfort you, but you can do all of those things on your own, then you can have healthy connections with somebody else that's able to do all of those things independently as well. So it becomes two independent people creating interdependence as opposed to codependence, where you're there for each other, but you're not enmeshed in each other. If you're not there for me, I'm going to die, So Kundalini awakening is not just, or spiritual awakenings are not just a spiritual happenstance. They are a 3D world recreation of your entire reality, taking away everything that is misaligned, burning to the ground all false structures, false beliefs about self and others, bad habits that prop up the false beliefs, everything and anything that is not soul is going to be burned to the ground. And then what are you left with? You're left in this state that I'm in now of, I don't know who I am. I don't know what's happening in my life. I don't know what I am, you know, because consciousness opens up and breaks you open, you know, like, what am I? What is a soul? What is my destiny? What is spirit wanting me to become? All I know is I am a woman who has merged her energies with feminine and masculine. And so I don't even resonate with woman so much anymore. I kind of resonate more as like non-generic, which isn't to say that I'm non-binary, but like even that question I thought about long and hard through my awakening, because I'm like, am I non-binary? Am I just, why do I have to be one or the other, or what? Like, I don't even know. Like, I just don't want a label in regards to that. So maybe let's just even actually take woman off the table. So what am I? I am a spirit in a human meat suit without any indication from spirit on what spirit is wanting me to become. All I know is what spirit wanted me to let go of and be unbecome. This has been my unbecoming. Maybe when I get to the new place, I'll start to become. But the last 2 years has been my unbecoming. Actually, the last 6 years has become my unbecoming. And disintegration is a very painful process. But I have to believe it's for my highest and greatest good. Because so far, everything has kind of landed for my good. As I said, I'm now healthy. I'm now sober and totally clean. I'm now trauma bond free. Like, I don't have any trauma bonds in my life at all. People can come, people can go. Yes, I mourn them, but like, I'm not like going through like heroin withdrawal when they leave, or like going into hysterics about it. Okay, you know, be here, don't be here, whatever. I got me. And so that's a good thing. I'm out of debt. That's a good thing. I drive. That's a good thing. So everything is kind of like lining me up for my highest and greatest good. I just don't know what that is. Like, I have no idea. And that is really overwhelming to the mind. The not knowing. It is very, very overwhelming. So I don't know. I have about 20 something days, 25 days, something like that, for me to fully purge out the rest of my fear. I anticipate that every single day I'll be doing a little bit more purging on the fear to prepare me for my solo trip across the Indian Ocean. Mine being a highway. Because, yeah, that's like, you know, my ego mind goes, get somebody else to drive me. And I'm like, no, we can do this. We will do this. And just like in driving, we can only do one block at a time. That's all we need to worry about. We don't need to worry about the entire trip. And Google will map it out for us. But we can do one block at a time, one block at a time, one block at a time. One highway at a time. Oh, geez. So today's video has been very long, probably the longest video I've ever done. But I wanted to come on here because I've been so reflective of how much I've been through, and like owning fully what I've been through, because it's been a lot. It's been a lot. And, you know, my trauma therapist was like, are you even aware of what you've accomplished? And I'm like, no. Because when you're surviving, right, you're never given a chance to sit still and look back and see what you survived. And I noticed recently,
I was mildly triggered because somebody said to me something along the lines of, like, I've not been through nearly what you've been through. And my immediate reaction was, oh, it's not so bad. And I was like, it's not so bad. Why am I minimizing? Why am I downplaying? And then that began its own shadow work as well of the programming that we all have, those of us who have survived trauma, as to downplay it. My childhood wasn't so bad. It was okay. But then when you go in and investigate it, you're like, oh, wait a second. Maybe that wasn't so okay. Maybe growing up in an alcoholic home wasn't so okay. Maybe being sexually abused wasn't so okay. Maybe some of those experiences weren't so okay. Maybe some of the things that happened to me in my adult life weren't so okay. And so it's about integrating your victim. And that's what I want to do, because I don't want to be spending the rest of my life in a state of victimization. But the fact of the matter was, I was victimized. Conscious cruelty victimized me. Therefore, I was a victim. And my victim needs to be honored and needs to be cared for and needs to be integrated with love and compassion and understanding, not with minimization, repression, and, discounting. No saying to my victim, what you went through wasn't a big deal. It was a big deal. I love you. Let's sit with that big deal today. Let's heal and integrate that big deal to get today. Because there's a lot of chitter chatter even within spiritual community that says, don't be in a victim mindset. Well, I take issue with that, because if you don't allow yourself to be in a victim mindset for a period of time while you are healing, then what you are doing is you are shoving your victim into shadow. And I'm not going to shove my victim into shadow to make somebody else feel more comfortable because their victim is in shadow. I'm going to take my victim and I'm going to pull my victim right close into my heart and say, what happened to you was wrong. It wasn't fair. It wasn't your choice. It wasn't, you didn't do anything wrong. You didn't deserve it. It wasn't anything like that. I'm going to love you. I'm going to soothe you. I'm going to reassure you. I'm going to validate you. I'm going to give you everything that you need so that you can breathe and go, yeah, it wasn't right. It was not right. But through this process of self-love and self-compassion, I can transmute it. I can heal it. So that is the goal. You need to embrace your victim. You cannot shove your victim away and minimize it. You cannot. And so I'm giving my victim her opportunity to speak on this hour 50 long minute video. I don't know how long it's going to be. I am allowing myself to speak. And the more I speak my truth, the clearer my voice gets. Because I'm not repressing my victim. It wasn't so bad. It was bad. It was bad. It shouldn't have happened. It should not have happened. Am I responsible for doling out consequences to those that hurt me? I am not. I give that to karma and let karma, it's like a collection agent. Every tear that I have cried, every scream that I have shouted, every shake that I have made, I have given to God. I have given it all to God. Here's another tear of grief. Here's another bit of pain. Here's another bit of panic. Collect it and you do with it what you want. Do I think and have opinion on what I would like to see happen? Sure, of course. I'm a human being and I'm going to forgive myself for that. But justice may not look how I want it to look, right? And I don't trust human court anyways, because it's already shown that it failed. It already showed that it failed. So justice is going to come to those that judge me, those that have spoken ill against me when they didn't know the facts. They may perhaps have been fed misinformation, because the fact of the matter is, those that have been abused by somebody who is a conscious, cruel person has experienced a level of a smear campaign that started from day one. It didn't start when the relationship broke down. The smear campaign started from day one, because as much as they've been lying and manipulating you, they've been lying and manipulating everybody else about you. So they've been saying mistruths like, oh, she's not well, she's got agoraphobia. She was, because I was diagnosed with agoraphobia. She doesn't leave her house, so you won't see her, so people wouldn't call her. Oh, you shouldn't call her, she's got anxiety. My triangulation in my relationship with my ex began day one. And I can see that now, that conflict was created between different family members of his. And I could never understand what was happening from day one. So that smear campaign of the scapegoat and, convincing other people that you're the problem starts from day one as a preemptive strike from day last when you finally leave. That it's already been, like, the foundations have already been laid so that when you leave, or if you leave, you've already lost everyone connected to them. Every single flying monkey that they've gotten into the ear of. Oh, she's disturbed, or, oh, she's depressed, or, oh, she's got anxiety, or, oh, she's unbalanced, or, oh, So all of those people on the periphery of that person, including your friends and your family, have already been tainted against you. So when the relationship breaks down, people say stupid things like, just go your separate ways. You let him live his life and you live yours, and you're the one left carrying physiological, chemical, emotional, mental wounds with you as you walk out the door, and it takes you way longer to recover, even though they may look like they bounce back really quickly, and that's because they do. Because they're not carrying any of the wounds. You're carrying all of the wounds that require the healing work, which takes years. Years. As I said, 2 years is what we're coming up on for my anniversary of not only obtaining my divorce, which I think was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, only superseded by phoning the police. And I am proud of myself for doing that. And I am acknowledging what really happened. And I am not going to let anybody else minimize my victim. We all have a victim. Absolutely every single one of us has a victim. And I personally would rather integrate my victim into the light and take the lessons learned from the victimization to become more empowered, to speak out, to become courageous, to learn to drive, to whatever it takes to find freedom. That requires incorporating the victim. I would rather do that than let my victim stay in shadow, where you risk victimizing others in the name of, I was victimized, so therefore I'm going to do whatever I want. That's that's the birthplace of narcissism. I was victimized, so I'm going to fuck over anyone else. And so we need to integrate our victim. You absolutely 100% need to integrate your victim. So for anybody who is on this awakening path, that is starting down the road of spiritual awakening, has had a Kundalini awakening, has had a twin flame catalyst awakening, has gone through trauma, has gone through trauma bonds and breaking free from trauma bonds, is got a dysregulated nervous system and is putting the time and effort to heal all of that and to go through the work that is required to, purge out and purify all of the wounds and the traumas that we carry from this lifetime, past lifetimes. Holy fuck, you are a warrior. You are a warrior for being able to do this work. This isn't love and light. This is like profound, painful shifting from one being into another being. It's like a transformation process that alters you on every single level, down to the smallest DNA. I honor this path, and I honor those that are walking it with me. Now, I haven't got to the other side, but I'm going to take stock of where I've got today and where I came from, and I'm going to keep doing that and integrating more of the awareness that comes with giving yourself time to heal. I send everybody out there all of my love and peace into you. A couple of announcements that I'll just tack on. If you want to join the Spiritual Warrior Support Group Zoom meetings, please reach out and hop on in. If you want a private one-on-one with me, that's still available. Reach out. I do those by donation. And if you need some recommendations of others, groups that you can attend that even I attend, because healers need healing and warriors need community. So they do. And community is becoming more and more important to me. So I join Brent Spirit's Kundalini After Dark on Sundays sometimes, and he has one on Mondays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. His community is fantastic. I have joined Craig Holliday's Kundalini group, and he offers a very interesting and non-duality approach to the Kundalini awakening, each grounding me, and awakening embodiment with Rihanna. I use her services as well that in the past. So those are just 3 that I can mention that are good communities that you might be interested in joining. If you want to join mine or join one of theirs, it doesn't really matter. I just want people to be supported in any which way they can. I want to be in service. And if that means pointing you in a different direction than me, then that's okay too, because that's a service. It's not about just my services. It's about creating community and cross-pollinating and cross-networking amongst other spiritual teachers that can offer insight. They can offer insight from different perspective. They're men, or they have different training, or whatever, right? We all work together. We can all learn from each other. I learn from you guys all the time through the Spiritual Awakening, Spiritual Warrior Support Group Zoom meetings. So that all said, the longest video I think I've ever done. Peace in.